Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of Monday, October 28th, 2024. I now call the meeting to order. If we'd all stand, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance together, please. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. Anna, voice roll call, please.
Chair Eric.
Present.
Vice Chair Toller.
Here.
Commissioner Rojas.
Present.
Commissioner Zick.
Here.
Commissioner Andrade.
Here.
Commissioner Klepak is absent. Commissioner Martinez.
Here.
All right, thanks, Anna. I see we have no announcements or presentations this evening, which brings us to public comments for matters that are not listed on tonight's agenda. The public comments will be heard at this time on items that are not listed on tonight's agenda but are within our jurisdiction. I'll now open public comment, and if you'd like to speak, please come to either podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and at the 1 minute mark, you hear a chime, and then at the end of the 3 minutes, it'll just turn off. Is there anyone in chambers who wishes to speak? All right, seeing none. Anna, do we have anyone on Zoom or telephone?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. I'll now close public comments. We'll now move on to Planning Commissioner comments and suggestions at this time, starting with Commissioner Rojas.
I have no comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Zick?
I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge we have our new director, Carrie Ty, in the audience. Welcome. Good to see you. That's all.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Zick. Commissioner Andrade?
Yes, I just very briefly wanted to thank the department and Mr. Yang for a wonderful presentation last week over at the Norma Hertz Community Center on housing and community priorities. It was really great to have that level, hearing the kind of timeline, upcoming timeline on how that project is, how those efforts are going to be developed, and such a great community turnout. So just wanted to congratulate you on a wonderful event.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Andrade. Commissioner Martinez?
Yes, I also wanted to say welcome to Director Ty. Thank you for meeting with me. Second, I also attended the Housing and Community public meeting with Commissioner Andrade Villarta. Thank you to this department and to Public Works for presenting on the con plan for home and CDBG funds. I also wanted to thank the Public Works Department for analyzing streets for AB 43 eligibility and putting those changes into effect. Tomorrow, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Norma Herzog Community Center, OC Parks will be having a community meeting regarding the Talbert Regional Park Master Plan. So if you are interested in Talbert Park, I would encourage you to attend tomorrow from 5 to 7 p.m. And lastly, please remember the 5th of November. Please vote if you are eligible and you have not already. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Martinez. Vice Chair?
Sure, I'll say real quick a shout out to the Public Works Department. So Commissioner Martinez mentioned AB 43. For the rest of us that lose track of all those, that's the one that enabled cities to lower their own speed limits. And so the city of Costa Mesa just announced that they're lowering the speed limit on 76 segments of city streets, which is the best way I could think of as just blanket safety improvement. That causes all sorts of issues between drivers and walkers, drivers and bicyclists, drivers and other drivers to lessen and evaporate. So that's huge. I don't know of any other cities in California that are doing that. I think we might have a record. Also on Placentia, there's new delineators for the bike lanes. And you spend any time on Placentia, you do see people using Placentia for on bikes a lot. And so that's a huge that's ambitious. You don't see a lot of cities doing that. They give excuses. They say there's not enough room, there's not enough demand, but we're doing it. So I'm proud that Costa Mesa is taking street safety seriously. That's it. Thanks.
All right, well said, Vice Chair, and I can second that in saying it's very exciting to be seeing those segments lowering their speed. I think I can speak for most members of the community there. Before I move on, I'll go ahead and move over to Director Drapkin to do the official introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I did want to echo some of the comments that are already we received from the commissioners. with our welcoming of our new director. She's a new addition, and she's a good steal like we normally do, this time from Hermosa Beach. She has tons of experience in Orange County, and she's worked around the area quite significantly. She, like I said, is a great addition. She's been here for 8 days, and I can say two of my favorite things about her is an amazing smile and energy that goes and goes and goes. So with that in mind and knowing all of her great experience that she brings to the table, we are super excited as a department to have her, and even more excited to have her in our presence with that amazing smile. So welcome, Carrie Ty.
Well said, Director Drapkin. Director Ty, do you want to say a couple words? It's up to you, totally voluntary. But welcome, we're excited to have you.
Thank you, Chair Areth and honorable members of the Planning Commission. It is really my honor to be able to join this team. I will say, Director Drapkin did say that today was my 8th day, and I'll say in the last week and a half, I've had the pleasure and the honor of working with the most fantastic staff in the department, but also throughout the city that have been incredibly helpful in getting me fully up to speed and also working alongside on some of the immediate challenges. And so I really look forward to all the great projects that we have in the pipeline, starting with cleaning up some of our immediate zoning issues, but then looking at big projects like the housing element implementation through the rezoning, the Fairview Developmental Center, as well as a considerable amount of pipeline projects that we are getting the department ready to receive and process in an efficient and transparent way. So I really am thankful to be here, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you to accomplish great things. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Director Ty, and again, welcome to the department. I'll go ahead and close us out with a couple things, one rather sad and one rather joyful. So I'll go ahead and start out with the sad bit. About a week and a half ago, I lost someone who could be best described as my all-time academic mentor. His name was Professor Dennis Kelly at Orange Coast College. He taught marine science for a number of decades. The public marine aquarium at Orange Coast College is named after him. And for me, he wrote my letter of recommendation into school. He got me into Caltech. He wrote my letters of recommendation to get my doctorate and inspired me to take the path that I did professionally. So this story goes back to over 20 years ago when I met Dennis, and it's very sad to see someone who had such a huge imprint on our community, particularly those of us who pursued the marine sciences, the biological sciences, and just science in general. He was a wonderful professor, and he'll be missed very much. On the bright side of things, our at-large Parks Commissioner, Cheyenne Wright, just had her first child 4 days ago. Her name is Iris Ever Wright Kinninger. She was born at 11:11 p.m. on the 24th, and I wanted to congratulate my friend and colleague Cheyenne Wright on entering motherhood in this next big phase of her life. It's very exciting, so I think we can all look forward to seeing her soon. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and move things along to the consent calendar. We have no items on the consent calendar, which brings us to public hearings. We have one public hearing item tonight, and Anna, if you'd please read the title.
Public hearing item number 1, design review 23-0001 and tentative parcel map 23-0002 for a residential small lot subdivision to create 2 parcels, each containing a new 2-story detached single-family residence and an attached 2-car garage. Please note we have not received public comments on this item. This is a call for any ex parte communications.
All right, thank you, Anna. I'll start to my left. Commissioner Martinez?
None.
Vice Chair? No. Commissioner Andrade?
None.
Commissioner Zick?
I visited the site, which is something I typically do when we have applications, and I spoke with the business owner who was located across the street.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Is it Commissioner Rojas?
None.
And I have none to report as well. So I'll now hand it over to Mr. Aldana to present the item. Mr. Aldana, thank you.
Good evening, Chair Arith and Commissioners. I'm Christopher Aldana, Assistant Planner with the Economic and Development Services Department. The applicant, Mirzad Rafi, requests a small lot subdivision. Under Costa Mesa's Municipal Code, a small lot subdivision may be offered by Planning Commission approval of design review and a tentative parcel map. The project site is located on the north side of Rochester Street between Newport Boulevard and Orange Avenue in Eastside Costa Mesa. The project site is an interior lot located on a level, rectangularly shaped 7,004 square foot parcel. The project site is designated high-density residential HDR and is zoned multifamily residential district high-density R2HD. The project site is surrounded by residential development that consists of condominiums, multi-tenant apartment complexes, duplexes, and single-family residences. The existing conditions of the lot consist of a vacant 894 square foot single-family dwelling and a 361 square foot detached garage, which is proposed to be demolished as part of the project. The existing 7,004 square foot property is rectangularly shaped and is 140 feet deep by 50 feet wide. The tentative parcel map proposes the creation of two lots consisting of parcel 1, which is 3,027 square feet, and parcel 2, which is 3,976 square feet. Parcel 1 would be relatively rectangular shaped with 40 feet of street frontage on Rochester Street, and parcel 2 would be located generally behind parcel 1 with an approximate 10-foot wide driveway access that also has frontage on Rochester Street. The city's residential small lot subdivision standards do not require a minimum lot size. The project complies with both the covered and uncovered parking requirements listed in the municipal code. Each home will provide 2 covered and 2 uncovered parking spaces. The project consists of 2 units, each on a separate lot, and each with its own driveway. Both units share a driveway curb cut, which is made accessible to the rear parcel by a driveway access easement. The curb cut and driveway design has been reviewed and approved by all departments. Unit 1 is located on parcel 1, which is closest to Rochester Street and provides 2 uncovered parking spaces and 2 covered parking spaces. The floor plan consists of 4 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms, and a laundry room located on the second floor, and is designed with a half bathroom, living room, and kitchen on the first floor. Unit 2, located on parcel 2, is located behind parcel 1 and provides 2 uncovered parking spaces and 2 covered parking spaces. The floor plan consists of 4 bedrooms, 4 full bathrooms, and a laundry room located on the second floor, and a half bathroom, living room, dining area, and kitchen located on the first floor. Per Costa Mesa Municipal Code, all required landscape areas shall consist of drought-tolerant plant materials and shall meet the minimum number of plant types based on the total landscape square footage. The project complies with the requirement in that it proposes a total of 480 square feet of landscape with a mixture of usable and decorative landscaping. The Costa Mesa Municipal Code requires 1 15-gallon tree or larger per 200 square feet of landscaped area. This would require the project to provide 2.4 trees. The applicant proposes 4 trees. The Costa Mesa Municipal Code requires 1 shrub for every 25 square feet of landscaped area. This would require a total of 19 shrubs. The applicant proposes 20 shrubs. The Costa Mesa Municipal Code also requires 70% ground coverage. The applicant proposes 70% ground coverage with the remaining area to incorporate uncontaminated compost mulch. The proposed landscape plan meets the intent of the city landscape requirements, and as part of the building permit plan check review, landscape plans will be prepared and certified by a California licensed landscape architect, confirming compliance with the Costa Mesa Municipal Code and water efficiency landscape guidelines. The parcel map allow for a new residential project that would not exceed the maximum allowed density and therefore would be consistent with the general plan land use designation of multifamily residential district. The project design also complies with the applicable development standards for a residential small lot subdivision. The project would provide an additional housing unit consistent with satisfying the city's required regional housing needs assessment. The proposed parcel map is consistent with general plan land use objectives LU-1A and LU-2A in that the subdivision allows for a project that would promote homeownership opportunities and improve the balance between rental and ownership housing in the city. And the parcel map would allow for redevelopment of an existing parcel, which would improve and maintain quality of the neighborhood and improve architecture, aesthetics, and landscaping. The project complies with all other applicable zoning code standards, including setbacks, parking, and open space. The project design incorporates elevations with varied roof forms, articulation of roof forms, and the aesthetic of the homes include varying roof forms, wall planes, and exterior materials, which allow it to avoid a boxy two-story design. Landscaping throughout the project meets the code requirements, and the project would introduce 4 new trees on site. The project will not result in any privacy impacts to the surrounding residences based on the proposed window fenestration patterns and the proposed setbacks from the neighboring properties. Pursuant to Costa Mesa Municipal Code, a residential small lot subdivision is allowed in multifamily residential districts and is intended to provide flexible development standards to promote a wider range of homeownership opportunities in the city. The code requires that the maximum density of a small lot subdivision is the same as the underlying zoning district. The project is designed in compliance with the city standards. The existing 7,004 square foot property is rectangular shaped and is 140 feet deep by 50 feet wide. The tentative parcel map application proposes the creation of 2 lots. There are no minimum lot size requirements. Small lot subdivisions are subject to the city's residential design guidelines. The proposed project meets the intent of the city's residential design guidelines, including complying with parking, open space, second-story design, and mass. The proposed project complies with the development standards for small lot subdivisions and the city residential design standards. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve Design Review 24-0001 and tentative parcel map 2023-180, subject to conditions of approval, and find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of California Environmental Quality Act, Prosequa Guidelines, Section 15315, Class 15, Minor Division of Land, and Section 15303, Class 3. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Aldana. Colleagues, do you have any questions for Mr. Aldana on this? Starting with Commissioner Zick.
Mr. Aldana, I only have one question for you, and I'm not able to reconcile some numbers on page 2 of the staff report where you indicate the second floor to first floor ratio with the numbers on page 7 of the staff report, where you have a table that shows what I think is the same thing, but with different figures.
So which numbers in particular, Commissioner?
Okay,
Zick,
so on
page 2?
page 2 of the staff report, it indicates that the second floor to first floor ratio is 100% for Unit 1, 92% for Unit 2. On page 7 of the staff report, it indicates a second floor to first floor ratio of 0.79 for Unit 1 and 0.76 for Unit 2.
I believe that discrepancy is due to it including the garage. So the first, on page 2, it omits the garage, and then on page 7, it includes the garage.
So in terms of what our code requirement is, could you clarify what our code requires and whether the inclusion or exclusion of the garage is the way it should be calculated?
Correct. So the intent of the residential design guidelines in regards to the difference in the second floor to first floor ratio is that they would like to see homes that are layered, similar to a layered cake, where the ground floor is a lot larger than the second floor, so that there's a difference in mass. And so what is shown in those numbers still complies when you reduce the square footage of the garage.
And in response to your question, Commissioner Zick, it is a requirement to include the garage in the footprint for the first and second floor comparisons.
So in the calculation of this ratio, which is important relative to the code, the numbers that are appropriate are the ones on page 2 of the staff report then? Or the ones on page 7 of the staff report? I'm assuming the ones on page 2.
I believe you're correct, Commissioner Zick.
That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Zick. Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah, so usually with government, we have an alphabet soup of agencies, but I'm much more interested in the numerical soup of state bills. So first, I'll ask about SB 9 and why this doesn't apply. I'm assuming it has something to do with the demolition of the current house, but I just wanted to clarify why it didn't apply.
That's a great question, Commissioner Martinez. SB 9 currently only applies to single-family residents that's zoned R1. And so in this case, it would have been a great option had it had that zoning designation, but it's zoned for R2HD. And so the applicant explored alternative options to provide multifamily on the lot.
Okay. And then the other one is about the parking required. Could you explain what the minimum parking requirement is?
So for these small lot ordinance projects, the parking requirement is based on bedroom count. And so with the proposed bedroom count that they're proposing, the parking requirement for both units would be 2 covered parking spaces, which they provide, and 2 uncovered parking spaces for each unit, which they also provide.
And with AB 2097, that parking requirement would be?
So this project also falls within that, that designated area that qualifies for that assembly bill. So to my knowledge, if there had been an issue with parking and the applicant would have requested, staff would have entertained the possible exemption to the project of some sort.
Do we tell applicants that they're in an AB 2097 zone, or do we expect them to know that they're in that zone?
So different developers want different things. And so we first look at an application to see what they're proposing. It's always, planner-based. My standard operation is I look to see if they meet if they meet all code requirements, and if so, then I proceed. But I'm always, I'm the type of planner that would always provide some type of recommendation if there is one for an applicant. In this case, it was inapplicable, so a recommendation for that assembly bill wasn't given.
Okay. And then I wanted to follow up on Commissioner Zick's comments. I know that the house that's in front has an overhang over the driveway for the house in the back. And I was looking at the visuals. I don't know what the technical term is, but I don't see where the house is set back on the second floor to offset the overhang over the driveway. So right now I'm thinking that it's over 100% second floor to first floor, but could you point me towards where the second floor is inset to account for that overhang?
So the intent of the code is that there are some offsets and massing. In this case, because the square footage was below a certain amount, not including the garage, they didn't have to provide the offsets and the massing. But the total square footage of the top floor is less than the ground floor, including the garage. And so the percentage that is shown is the percentage of whether the ground floor, the difference between the ground floor and the top and the second floor. So for one of the parcels, the proposed home is the same as, the ground floor is the same as the second floor. And for one of the parcels, the second floor is a little bit less in square footage than the ground floor. So it's 90, I believe it's 97 square feet. 97%, sorry, of the, of that square footage. 92. So it's just a fraction.
Yeah, I also imagine, I don't know, the staircase is open air on the second floor, so you probably don't get there anyways. So I think it should be fine. Just wanted to see. Okay, those are my questions.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Martinez. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Aldana. We'll go ahead and move on to the public hearing and ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to come to either podium. And if you would, if you could do 3 things for me. If you could tell me your name, if you've read the staff report, and if so, do you agree to those terms? So you're welcome to take the podium, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Mersad Rafi. I'm the architect for the project and the owner representative and applicant. Yeah, I have read the report, and it's been a long time. You're working with planning department and all other departments. And yes, we agree to all the conditions, and everything matches with what we expected and we are trying to do.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rafi. You're welcome to make a short presentation if you'd like. Otherwise, we can move along.
Yeah, everything Christopher explained very well, so I can't think of anything to add.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So at this point, I'll ask my colleagues, do you have any questions for the applicant? Yeah, Commissioner Martinez.
Yeah, low stakes question. Given that this parcel does not have parking requirements, the required parking really is 0 here.
Right.
Would you have designed this any differently with that? Because I know, like the outdoor parking space in the back house is like covering the trash enclosure. I don't know if you would have taken that away. I don't know. Would you have designed it any differently, given the fact that you're not required to have parking here?
Just maybe one parking, the angle one could be eliminated, but in general, no. We prefer to have more parking inside. I mean, being able to have more parking inside the lot. It's our preference as much as possible, and I think we would go the same way. Just since the lot was small. And matching with all the requirements with the transportation and planning, there were some requirements that we were trying to match with both of them at the same time, and it was a little hard to cover both requirements at the same time. Like transportation preferred bigger driveway, planning department preferred less driveway, so it was just some portions that we were walking on the edge to make it work with all the departments. I think owner request was that we provide more parking for the tenant, for the units also. So our goal was providing more parking as much as we can.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rafi. Just one sec. Anyone else? All right. Yeah, Commissioner Andrade.
Yeah, I don't know if this is more applicable for the owner, but just out of curiosity, understanding what is the current state of challenges with housing, or I should say opportunities for making housing affordable, creating avenues for first-time home buyers. Are these 2 properties that you're building, are these opportunities, or is there any opportunities to provide first-time home buyer experience?
At the time that they are going to be sold, probably it should be something that the owner probably can respond, but I think probably, yeah, that can be a good opportunity. Anyway, having more units is provide more housing for everyone. I understand that preparing that, having more units, that was our goal, to have more units on the property.
Yeah.
But probably, yes.
Yeah. So what would be the, or maybe this would help better for me to set up my question a little better. What would be the kind of income bracket that you would be targeting for, because these are for ownership, right, leading to owner occupied, that this would provide?
Well, these are not exactly for the affordable, so we can't say this is gonna fall on the certain bracket for the rent or sell.
Okay.
So that wasn't something that we were reviewing at this point of the project.
Great. Good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Andrade. I was thinking back to just a couple of the pages that we were reading, and I took note of the bottom of page 15 and the top of page 16 in talking about the property being subject to California Department of Housing and Community Development. There was some information there about this parcel. Anyone else up here? Yeah, Commissioner Rojas.
Just a quick question, actually, for staff, not for the applicant, if that's all right.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get a little bit of clarification, minor point, but I wanted to make sure I understood it correctly. When looking at the drawings, it states there in red in the center, it says the wood fences for reference only per conditions of approval number 6, a block wall is required. And I look at item number 5 on the conditions of approval, it says the applicant shall install a 6-foot-high decorative block wall, so that's number 5. But number 6 says shall construct decorative block walls or wood fencing. So I'm just a little confused, which one is it? And also, what is the logic on that? Is it a safety issue, a sound issue, stability issue? I'm just curious about that. It just kind of jumped out at me.
So for the exterior walls, those that follow the original property lines, those have to be block wall. And then for the interior walls, those could either be fencing or block wall. So for the interior walls on the lot, they have an option, whereas for the exterior walls around the development lot, those are required to be block wall.
Okay, I wanted to get that clarification. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Rojas. Good question. Anyone else for the applicant? All right. Seeing none. Ms. Rafa, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and open the floor to public comments. If anyone in chambers wishes to speak to this item, you're welcome to come to either podium. You'll have 3 minutes. The 1-minute mark, you'll hear a chime, and at the 3-minute mark, the mic will just shut off. Does anyone in chambers wish to speak on this item? All right, moving along to Zoom or telephone.
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thanks, Anna. I'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of the public hearing. Colleagues, do you have any further questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none. Ms. Rafe, do you have any further comments? No? Okay. All right. Commissioners, do you have any further questions for staff? All right, seeing none, go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion. Motion made by Commissioner Zick. What is your motion, Commissioner?
Find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality CEQA, et cetera, and approve the parcel map, PTPM 23-0002, parcel map number 2023-180, and approve the design review, PDES-23-0001, based on findings of fact and subject to the conditions of approval.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Zick. Just for clarification, because of the skip over this particular CEQA guideline sections, I assume it's just approval of staff's recommendation as written. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Seconded by Martinez. Would you like to speak to your motion, Commissioner Zick?
Sure. It's pretty clear that the condition of this property begs for attention one way or the other, and replacing it with two new modern single-family homes, I think, is a great course of action, given the, I'll call it eclectic nature of the housing in that area. I think this will fit in perfectly with what is there. I'm particularly appreciative of the fact that you have provided parking because you're in the business of developing. You understand what the market wants, not what the politicians are trying to do to our society. People that buy houses generally have cars, generally want to have a place to park them. Anybody familiar with that street knows parking on the street is near impossible. So you've made a smart decision, a market-based decision, one that adds value to your property. As an aside, there's a show on HGTV where a couple of developers put together a property down in Louisiana and opted to not provide parking. They had to drop their list price significantly because the market wouldn't respond. The realtor representing them said the first question people asked that came to view the property was, where do I park? So you're doing a smart thing. I appreciate smart development. Thank you.
I want to thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Martinez.
Yes, we are in a housing crisis, and although this may just be one extra house, it's one more than we had before. Whatever, I don't know, I think we may have had another housing item, just a singular other housing item since I have joined the Planning Commission. So I look forward to hearing more housing items in the future. Hopefully our next meeting will have a lot of housing on it. And then I wanted to speak to parking. AB 2097, what we had before AB 2097 was in fact the politicians, the city council, previous city councils requiring a certain amount of parking spots, parking per unit, parking per 1,000 square feet for commercial. So politicians required that for city councils across the state. And in fact, with AB 2097, developers now have the option to set whatever parking standard they so wish. In this case, they have decided to include more parking than was required. They now have that option instead of being forced to do what a city council or a board of supervisors or whoever has set the zoning code has imposed onto them. So in this case, this isn't how I would design a house, but it is how someone who will be a future resident will appreciate this house, and I am completely fine with that. And I'm just thankful that there is now that option provided instead of the mandate that we had previously. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez. Commissioner Rojas, any thoughts on the motion? Commissioner Andrade, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think, again, wonderful project. One extra home in it within our community is a plus, and opportunities to develop the limited land that already, that already exists within our community is definitely a great win. But just aside, from this project, I think just for the larger conversation, we have to stay in tune and stay proactive in the housing crisis that we live in. So always finding creative ways to create more rental units that are affordable across multiple income brackets, or first-time home ownership for folks that have been renting their whole lives and are looking to make Costa Mesa their permanent home. It's just a great opportunity for us to really be creative with with the limited land resources that we have. But other than that, it's just kind of aside from this project, but again, just an opportunity maybe for our department, future developers that come up and are looking to develop land here. to really take a stand, right, and make an effort to be part of the solution for our community would be fantastic.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Andrade. Vice Chair, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just say something real quick. There's a lot of housing projects that come up here, and I kind of hold my nose and vote for approval, which I will on this, because they played by the rules and they have constraints imposed on them by the city and by the building code and the fire code. That they obviously had a tricky site to work with, and as Commissioner Zick said, they're working with market demand for parking, and it's. R1 is where you stick one house on a lot, and R2 is where you stick two houses on a lot, and R3 is where you cram more and more houses on a lot. And at some point, this is like the smallest example of this, but we're seeing it all over the city. As many houses, and they're getting smaller, having smaller footprints and getting taller, and just because they could be fee simple and they're cheap to build, so you could get bang for your buck. And I think we need to be brave. This is like our city policy level to enable people that are flipping homes or developing, whether it's a small project or a big project, to click up into flats. I mean, yeah, I know we have our policy to create home ownership opportunities. That's great. Things can be condoized, but there's nothing wrong with living in a flat. And single-family homes, whether we call them townhomes or whether they're on tiny little 7,000 square foot lots or big lots like the ones in front of Trader Joe's, probably one of the biggest example of these, those buyers are going to want at least 2 parking spaces, and they're going to need visitor parking. Then you're almost worsening the problem that that I think Commissioner Martinez was alluding to. On that street, for example, just to get to Lions Park, how long do you think it would take to get to Lions Park? It's probably like a 5-minute walk at the most. Crossing that street, you have to cross 3 lakes, right? I remember a few years ago, I timed it. It took me over 5 minutes just to get to the other side. And so, yeah, the fact that they're providing all this parking, I mean, there's more parking than open space on this site in an R1 environment, which is what we're supposed to be kind of going towards. When we talk about the residential character and everything. Yeah. Anyway, good project, good job figuring out a puzzle. I'm glad two families are gonna have a place to live. I think we need to make some changes at the policy level to enable walkability so that demand goes down, so that people can have the option to live, be a 1-car family, not have the burden of car ownership, and still get around. And that's on the city. That's the city's responsibility to enable car light living if people want or need to have that lifestyle. So I'm in support of the project, but those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Since I'm the last one up, I'll start it off by saying this is my favorite part of our meetings, is getting to hear everyone's thoughts on the motion. And I'm reminded time and time again, every time we meet, just how enthusiastic everyone is about their position and how they interpret these items. So it's fun for me to listen to everyone, really. But I'll put my 2 cents in. I think it's a wonderful project. I think it's beautiful. I think that it's really getting to the heart of not only what our general plan indicates in Land Use Policy 1.3, which is to increase home ownership opportunities in a city that is already 60% renters. So this project is just a microcosm of the overall effort that the city is taking to increase ownership opportunities. So thank you for doing that. On the topic of garages, yeah, the market dictates that. If there was an appetite at a price point where people would want to come in and waive parking, then sure, by all means, go for it. But there's very few people who want that. And I understand that because I'm in real estate as well. So I get it. There is the obvious part of this too, in that assuming that there are certain conditions met, garages can also be converted into ADUs. And if the footprint is also large enough, JADUs outside in the open space as well. So if there's ever a question of, well, we want to, do a conversion, then perhaps the HOA or the joint agreement on site may or may not allow for that, or who knows. So just to point that out, that there is some likely flexibility that's built in. So with that, I'm happy to support the motion. I think it's a good one. And Anna, let's call the question.
That motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you, Anna. That decision is final unless appealed to the City Council within 7 days. Thank you, and good luck. This brings us to old business, new business. There is neither, so we'll move on to departmental reports, starting with Mr. Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works Department is proud to announce the Community Bike Skills Workshop for this Saturday, November 2nd, at St. Joachim Church on Orange Avenue. It's an event for bike skills courses, free helmets, and bike repair. It's in conjunction with the City Police Department as well. So we'd like to invite everyone to join that event. Once again, it will be Saturday, November 2nd, starting at 10 a.m. at St. Joachim Church on Orange Avenue. And we had an event on October 26th at Balearic Park Center, and it was a great event, good turnout, and it was very successful. So we hope to make it a twofer this time around as well. So that's it for Public Works reports. I defer back to the chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yang. I had the pleasure of walking Willie over to Balearic during the bike skills workshop at Balearic this weekend. It was great. And I think I was the first person to get there, and then for the 15 minutes I was there, it became more well attended. So I'm happy to see there's a bunch of kiddos out. So yeah, thank you. Development Services Report, Director Drapkin.
No comments tonight, Chair. It's the World Series, so I'm sure there's some commissioners that might want to get home. So I'm going to waive my normal comments and allow at least some of the commissioners get home to watch the world champion Dodgers.
Yeah, 100% guaranteed. We're either rooting for the Yankees or the Dodgers, right? Okay, guaranteed. Okay. City Attorney, Mr. Preziosi.
No report this evening.
All right, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Good job, Chair.
Thanks, Vice Chair.